not the way you want to wake up in the morning, right? I gotta go to the website to get the.
Here's your agenda.
Well, I know, but I want to look up the detail. And I think I forgot to put my readers in the bag.
Can't wait for me to read anything out loud too.
Yes, you can be my old folks' eyes. Because I can't see. Oh, God. Hey, what is this? Christ. I may just look at yours because I'm not connected to Wi-Fi.
Okay, here's mine.
Let's see, guess. What's the Wi-Fi password?
Rolling lid, all lowercase.
Okay.
Sorry guys.
Oh, don't
Technical
worry.
difficulties, it's coming.
Hey,
Promise.
it's given me a minute, so don't worry.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you done this change the stream name key before? I did it. One
Give
time,
me a minute.
after this update, it changed the
I
card
literally-
thing is supposed to be here, but it's not.
Literally last week I was looking at new cars and I was like, can't decide what I want. And now I'm like, okay, this is a sign.
Yeah. Did it do a lot of damage? What did she drive?
Oh, hers was way worse than mine. I think what she did was she was trying to go around me, and so she looked left but forgot to look forward. So went right into
What was she driving?
a BMW,
Oh.
like an old, you know her.
Yeah.
But like, here's mine. You can see where she was trying to go around and just but it's like all.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to replace that whole,
They-
that whole.
Yeah. And I'm like, no,
Don't do it.
it's not really worth it. But I'm like, just kidding. What? Just kidding. Well, no, I think I'm with you, but I'm like, okay. But like, here was her little car, but she like took me
Yeah.
out. So.
And she couldn't have been going very fast.
No, it was trafficy, and it's right there at like Southwest Parkway, and it's just anyway. She was. I was like, what?
Did she go to St. Andrews?
No, I don't know where she goes to school, but poor thing.
That's a tough intersection.
I know. I was like, that's like, we'll go for us.
Stream. I don't think anyone's watching.
Good, we are live.
Okay, let's see. It's 9:35. Roll call.
Nicole Marisi, Laurie Mills,
Catherine Horn.
Phil McDuffie.
Colleen Preheim.
Okay. All right. Let's start. Do we have any public comments? No public comments.
Yes.
Oh, we do.
I think she's on the phone.
She's on fire.
I think she's on the phone. She's on the phone. She wasn't.
Oh,
talking.
she wasn't talking. I was like, there's somebody on the phone. Sorry, I rattled. Just ignore me. Okay, so no public comments. All right, consent agenda. Let's see. The minutes from last month. Has everybody read through them? Any changes? Any corrections?
No.
I make a motion to approve.
I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So the motion passes, the meeting agenda. All right, regular agenda. Item number 3, discussion on a report from Western Hills Girls Softball. Steve Frank is here.
Morning. I don't really have much to add. Season's kind of starting. Next week will be practices. We're still figuring out days. Registration closed Friday. So we have a little over 100 girls, which was good. More than last spring, so that was good. All age groups. So a lot heavier at 8U, 12U, and 14U. Those are our big groups right now. So, and then other than that, we're on month to month. Still in negotiations, finalizing it up. It's been going back and forth. The only other thing I know we've been working on trying to do, we're looking at doing the batting cage. That's all getting bid out right now. The Little League cage, which is the one closest to Fieldhouse. The sunscreen, which has already been approved. I've tried to contact Viking, and now I'm in limbo of them not getting back to me because they're the ones that gave us the bid to do it. So I don't know if it's how aggressive I have to be to get back in touch with them and get that going. And then I know Little League is looking at doing their backstop, which I think has already been approved also.
Field 1.
Field 1, yes. That's what's on the very, there's basically a board there now. They're looking to put in padding, and that's the one that they're looking to put the Rolling Wood city logo on it. So you'll be able to see that from the street or whatever, so.
Is the goal to have all of these done before the season starts?
The goal, that is the goal.
And when does
And
the
that-
season start?
Opening weekend is Saturday, February 29th.
Ooh, that's soon.
Do you want Discount Fence? We have a contact at Discount Fence that gave us our bid on the general fencing, and I know they've done
I don't know
stuff
if they
at
did
ball fields.
sunshades, but I'd be willing to talk to anyone right now.
Okay. They were much more responsive
Yeah.
when we were trying to get info from Viking, and Viking was like, it's just too small.
Yeah.
So,
And I know Viking had done Little Leagues on First Street fields. They're the ones that put the sunshade up on one of their fields, so that's the reason why we kind of use them to get a bid. But yeah, I'll give them a few more days, and I don't know what to do after that. Call them a few times, or
I wonder if the city called them, maybe that might help, I don't know.
yeah.
Amber, do we have any contacts with Viking? Have we done anything with them, with the city?
Not that I'm aware of, but if I had trouble getting bids, I would always reach out to Josh McKay. We could see if he's got any contractors
Okay.
in mind.
We can connect you with him via email and see if they can help get that done.
It's for the sunshade
Yeah, on Field
To-
2.
to put that up.
Yeah, to try to block out the west sun setting.
Okay, we'll work together on it.
And that's pretty much,
Pretty much it.
yeah, unless you guys had anything that you guys noticed up there, or.
How's,
I have looked at the lights. I did find one cover, so I'll be able to put those back on, or one of them, and then I'll have to
Steve,
go to.
you can, we're gonna take care of that. We're replacing, we couldn't find the cover, or maybe we could.
I found one of them, and then I took pictures, and I just needed to go to Lowe's. But if you guys have already looked at them
We've got
and
them
found
all,
them,
we've got them all lined up, and
okay,
they might be up sometime this week.
okay.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah, because I didn't go into the women's restroom, but I know there was one out in the men's, and then there's one out in the main walk-through area of the field house.
there were
And then
several.
definitely dirty with lots of
Yeah, we're
bugs
gonna
in
replace
there.
those two.
I know that was the one thing that was brought up last month, but other than that, I don't.
And then as far as the aeration of the fields and stuff, you're gonna wait and do that once the lease is signed.
Yeah, and that's, I'm not sure if we're gonna do it before the season,
Season.
just because of the timing of all this. And so that might be, it'd be an August timeframe, I think, then,
Okay.
if we wait for the next season.
All right.
Yeah, I just don't know if, to do the aeration and the seeding and all that, to get it done before the season would be tough now.
Right. Okay. All right. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item number 4, the lease agreement update.
Not much else to add other than we're continuing negotiations, started with the proposal provided by the Little League and just building from there, took some of the recommendations from Park Commission, put those in there, and I think we should have something ready for the city council at the February meeting to be approved.
That's very good. All right. Discussion on park maintenance and upkeep.
Oh, sorry, I thought these would be the right direction, but here are pictures that Phil
Great.
got of the bin, the locked bin that could hold the dirt and a scoop, so that way folks using
Bless
the
you.
fields for their dogs, and if the dogs make a hole,
Bless you.
they can repair it right on site. And so this doesn't need your approval, but he wanted to circle back with you, and since that was on his to-do list, and he found it really reasonable, so we'll go
Yeah,
ahead
let's
and
try
get
it.
that.
Let's
and
see if that helps.
put it in
Is
there.
the scoop plastic?
I don't have a scoop yet. I mean, I'm thinking if we just get, you know, a kid's pail or anything that you could carry it other than your hands. I mean, something small and plastic.
Golf supply companies have scoops because they do them for divots.
But I think he's thinking a bucket would be even easier than a scoop
Yeah.
because you'd lose half of it walking over to the hole.
Yeah, I mean, I think anything that, you know, I mean, for that matter, just a big solo, you know,
Yeah.
kind of thing, a more rigid that you get would be fine. But I was thinking just that little, behind the backstop on 3, 4, and 5, that little wedge kind of dead zone that curves around, we can just put that back there and it would be unobtrusive but easy to get to from inside the fence. It's got a locking lid that will shed the water so it won't fill, and then, you know, I know we can put a sign on it, but I think just spray painting like no trash or anything else on there on the lid, basically be like, you know, yeah, it's a trash can, don't put trash in it.
So we'll have the new public works director take care of that, and then
Okay.
I included an update from Cleanscapes that they provided when we walked the property with them a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you can see that. They are working. Later in your agenda, you'll have a proposal for playscape mulch.
And that's the rubbery kind of mulch, right? That's that.
Yeah. They're going to have their beekeeper come out and look at the one. I can't ever remember what kind of bush that is up there. Yeah, it's got bees in it, so they're going to look at that. We also talked about, I think in the lower park, there's kind of near where it's past the wall, but it's like the dirt and it's kind of flaking off. They felt like the ligustrums were probably contributing to the wall flaking off. So they suggested that might be a nice place like to do a pecans or maybe some crepe myrtles, but take out all those ligustrums and then plant some nice trees back there. So they're working on a proposal for that. We also looked at the area between the sidewalk and the street, the curb where the irrigation's broken. They talked about, they think the trees are going to be fine. If they're not, we'll drag a hose to them in the meantime. But we talked about doing some nice landscaping, maybe even some flowers there, and anyway, something there that wouldn't take a lot of water that we could survive without having to redo the irrigation. So they're working on a proposal with their landscape architect to get that to us.
So along
Gentry.
Gentry
Yes.
right there. Were they giving us a bid though on heads for the grass area, or are you talking about in the grass area doing flat?
In the grass area, in the sidewalk between the street,
Okay.
that area, and then we talked about trying to get the grass behind the sidewalk to be more grass
Okay.
and getting that. So we talked about doing all those areas, trying to get them grassy, and so they're gonna come to us with proposals to make all that happen.
Okay.
This area in the lower park where we can't get any grass to grow,
What
they
did
suggested maybe just some wood mulch.
Okay.
So think on that. I don't know.
And how
Good.
often would that get replaced? Because
Yeah.
it seems to wash out quite a bit, especially in the
I know.
spring when we hopefully have more rain.
I know.
If you put something like sages or something like that in there, it'll help hold. But I mean, right now, with It's My Park Day, I've requested 26 cubic yards of mulch for
Okay.
6 of which will go to the Boy Scouts. It gets approved on the 6th of February when they say, yeah, we're actually doing these projects. So we're a couple days from getting approval, but I've got no indication that it won't. And we could up that if we need to. They tend to go up to 30, I think, is kind of their normal limit. So right now we're at 26, but
Okay. Well, I know we don't have any barriers left. Think on that, and if that's kind of the look
Yeah.
that you want there.
Something that can go there that would.
it'll probably just wash out into the street.
I know.
That's what
I
I
know.
feel
Have
like, that
something,
it will.
have
What's
some
that-
kind of
That
plants
stuff
that are
that people
pretty
put
rich.
under trees, it kind of
It's ground cover and it kind of
Yeah.
almost is like a
green and,
yes.
you know what I'm talking about? It's ground
Yeah.
cover, and so then it roots in, but
And
it's
it
just
spreads.
green and it spreads.
a lot.
Yes.
I don't know. Something that.
But
would-
yeah, ground cover might be better than a
Oh, you're
mulch
talking
just
about
because it'll
like-
wash out.
Jasmine,
No, not jasmine.
No,
I know what you're
can't
talking about.
think
It's
of-
low to the ground and it almost is like a just a blanket over the ground.
Yeah, I mean, it just might, you know, we could have a path between the trees or something, not do it everywhere, but have enough that in certain areas, the dirt isn't going onto the walkway.
So maybe
when
it's
it
just a
rains.
question of to cleanscapes, what kind of ground cover can we do there that won't wash away, that'll fully cover that, so at least it's got greenery.
Yep, I can do that.
The boxes that the beekeepers are bringing, are they relocating bees with boxes, or what is that?
They were, I don't know, at this point, all they were gonna do is have the beekeeper come out and look at the,
Okay, they just said they're gonna talk to the beekeeper about locations for the boxes. Do we know what the boxes are? Okay,
I know,
just wondering.
unless it's like a real beekeeper box, like they have the trays
Yeah.
that go in and,
That's sort of what it maybe sounds like.
I bet.
But do we want them relocating our bees?
Well, that one, the problem is.
Or
this-
like taking away our bees?
The one
or
problem is this
relocating
one
them?
bush we had, I don't know. if
It's
it was
right
like-
by the trail.
Yeah.
It's right off the trail.
There's
and
always
it's
been
a
bees up there.
huge hive in there, and so what happens is a lot of the kids are getting stung, and
Yeah.
when you walk through there when they're having a lot of the bees, I mean it's swarms, and they hover close to the ground at everybody's
So just
ankle.
take-
I
Taking out maybe
understand
the-
that, I just wonder if we wanna make sure if they are relocating, that they're relocating to
Within
Rollingwood
the
Park and not
Sure.
the beekeepers not taking the bees off to
Sure.
another
I can make sure that that,
faraway location.
yeah, I
Okay.
can make sure they stay in Rolling.
We
Those
want
are
them
rolling with
relocated
bees.
here. We like our bees, we just don't
That's
want
right.
them in a bush by
Yeah.
a bunch of
Right,
little
by
kids.
the park.
Yes,
Yes.
so,
Okay.
And this says something about aerating and the ball fields, but we're not doing that.
Well, or the aeration around the fields in the front. We do need, like, if you walk up by the front of the road, we've got a lot of weeds in all of our grass and stuff, and so I don't know what they do for all the weeds since we can't use the chemicals, but
They're pulling a lot.
if we can get the weeds kind of taken care of, but do some aeration and seeding so that we have more grass coming up in the front, because we definitely, it's green, but
It's
if
just
you
the
get,
wrong
if
green.
you, if you get really close to it, the type of green it is not,
What we're looking
and
for.
so when I was over in Butler Park the other day, you know, how are they able to keep theirs grass without the
Weeds.
the weeds? Maybe that can be our goal.
But this on this bid right here, oh, it's not up, but here where it says we are also working on getting you a bid to aerate and top dress the ball fields. Is that around the ball fields or the ball fields?
I didn't request that. I think that
Okay.
was a holdover from when
Okay.
Catherine talked to them.
So that must
so-
be, but that's what
But we
the
had
Little
to-
League will be doing.
No, because we had
Okay.
talked
We are
about
gonna do it.
doing the areas around the fields, like along Rollingwood Drive, on the side, by the field house, and all those
So we can
areas.
do that before August.
We had, yeah, we should
Okay.
be able to do that before August. We had talked about aerating and seeding so that we could have more grass versus weeds. So we definitely want that bid, but I guess we need to make sure that they are doing the areas around the
perimeter.
fields, not within the fields.
Okay.
And then along Rollingwood Drive and all of the beds, black tarp underneath, it just, I mean, and those are the areas we put mulch in the fall, and it's back up and visible, and so I guess the question is, because Cleanscapes had even mentioned, they said you really don't need the black underliner. So do we get rid of that? Do we keep that? Because if we're not gonna have plants there, and then as the mulch fades away, I don't think it looks
Do we-
very good to see the black underliner.
Do we risk anything by just taking it out?
I don't know. Can we ask them that? Can you put that in the question?
Yeah, I
now?
thought that was going to be part of their bid. I can follow up with that
Yeah,
because getting rid of it and making, putting mulch or I don't know, whatever. I said whatever y'all think is the best. We just
Right.
want to make this look more beautiful.
Right.
And
Can
so-
you ask them on
Yeah.
that? Because if it's my park day is, March 7th? I think it's the beginning of March. So
Right.
if they say, yes, we need to get rid of the black underlining, we can get that taken out before it's my park day. Then once we cover it, that issue would hopefully be gone.
Okay. Is that some of the areas you want to cover for It's My Park Day? Then okay.
Would be in the front, along the side. We're gonna cover it as much as we can with free mulch.
Yeah, it's March
You
7th.
know, I mean, it's free mulch. You can't.
And labor.
And labor, so.
But isn't that black like a weed barrier? I'm afraid if
That's
we
what I
get
thought. I
rid of
thought
it,
too.
Yeah.
then
It is, but it's not working is the problem. Like, you have to either tamp it down really good, and some of it, because it's ripped in certain areas, a lot of it is missing, so we don't have it fully covering all of the beds.
So we'd
Okay.
either need to redo it or rip it out.
Yeah.
And what are the consequences of both?
Yeah, like if we rip it
well,
out,
or
what happens?
repair it rather than rip it completely out. But I'm thinking, I've noticed in the past where I've mulched and I don't put that barrier down, it quickly becomes a
Weeds.
germination center for weeds.
I agree with that.
We just
So,
need to see
yeah.
how the best way to do it is.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
I think it's something we probably want in some form, some kind of weed barrier, otherwise, where we mulch, it's gonna get weed infested quickly. It just kind of holds the seeds
Right.
perfectly.
Well, along those areas though, then do we wanna look at, when they're looking at landscape stuff, something that would border those areas in terms of plants that would hold things down and then hold the mulch within? Because what happens is when it rains, the mulch is
Rolls off.
moving and it's going down onto the trail, and then the weed barrier is suddenly showing, and then animals get in there and it gets ripped apart. And so if you walk up there, there's sections where the weed barrier is completely gone, and then there's sections where it's just pulled out and half covered and not. So
I mean, we're always gonna have a problem with the animals, especially
Right.
when we've got as many armadillos as I see coming through my yard and stuff like that. I mean, they'll rip up anything, but that doesn't mean that we'd be better off without it necessarily,
well,
perhaps.
the natural gardener has this nice stuff, and it's all natural, and you just put it in your yard. And I have noticed when you sprinkle it in your yard, the armadillos stop. I no longer have the little noses, so maybe
I've
they
got
can look at
so
that.
many of those.
What? Yeah, the
The
nose.
armadillo
Yes. Well,
holes.
it's I can't remember what it's called. I've got 2 bags in my garage. I'll text
You just-
everyone a copy, and you just take your little green spreader and you spread it, and then you water it, and there's something in the smell that gets in the soil that keeps them from wanting to dig down, and so you no longer have that because we were having it a lot.
Yeah.
So what our recommendation would be, or the next step would be to go to Cleanscapes and see what they recommend.
And maybe even phase it out, so if we can't afford to budget it now, well, here's how you project it, let's go ahead and put in, repair what liners we have, then add some kind of plant barrier, then the next phase would be something else, so that at least we have an idea of what it can look like,
Right.
and eventually build up to that, so it's a plan versus, well, let's just piecemeal and
Let's fix
Band-Aid
it, yeah.
what's
Yeah.
been going on here.
And that's what the Amy is mentioned. That's what I asked them to do too. I was like, if we have a plan of what we can do every year, like
To
we
get
can
us
build,
where we need
yeah.
to be.
It-
So
it's a
that-
start.
That's what they're supposed to be delivering to us.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's helpful, because
Yeah.
then in a visual, to go along with that, here are your options for the types of plants that are low water,
Yeah,
you know,
ground cover. And then
ground
we'll-
cover, and then
Right.
high tolerance to drought, and so on and so forth. And then that way, at least we have something to look forward to and be able to plan out.
Right.
Can we discuss the Cleanscapes maintenance schedule that Wendy put together? Yes, the maintenance plan. I know I had kind of resent that or recirculated that to a couple of you. I can't send it to all of you, I don't think, just because of the rules, but, I thought it was very comprehensive. I didn't really have a lot to add. Was there anything that you felt needed to be added, given your recent walkthrough with Cleanscapes?
I don't.
Okay, is that a tool that we can start to use? I mean, I feel like it was a great sort of like schedule of what we need to do, just to like make sure that we're checking all the boxes with them. It seems like it's been a challenge though, because I don't know how many years ago Wendy did it, but it seems like it's been a challenge to just like be disciplined about sticking with it and like, every single month revisiting like, okay, this month, what's on the list? What do we need to address? But I do think we need to have some discipline around that process. And I think that the spreadsheet that she put together is a really great place to start. So
Do we have
I'm looking
access
for
to the
some-
spreadsheet out now that, I
yeah,
happen to
yeah,
see
I
it.
can't send it to everyone, but I think Ashley can.
sure I sent it to everyone.
Okay, maybe
Alright,
we
can you just
send
resend
it.
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I can't. She can, but I feel like that we need to utilize that tool that we have just to make sure nothing's falling through the cracks. So I'm looking for consensus on making that a part of our regular monthly sort of check.
What do we need to do this month?
Yeah.
Next month?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, do you mind?
Go.
I mean, yeah, appreciate it. So to that point, I think it's fantastic what Wendy's put together. A critical tool that you guys now have is a new Public Works Director. I'd encourage everybody to come out and meet him this evening. We're having a public meet and greet with David. But the one thing that when we last, excuse me, Wendy and I last visited about the maintenance schedule, it's been some time. We weren't sure whether or not we were catching everything. And we realized that a critical component of that would be to talk with, at the time, Jackie Bob, and work with the Public Works Department to try to pull everything together, because they're going to have kind of a level of I guess, understanding of day-to-day functionality that maybe we don't. So in that instance, I would just maybe, once you've circulated that, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a phenomenal start. And then maybe set up a meeting with David to kind of walk through it and just see if there's anything that maybe the Public Works Department is missing. And then Park Commission could even express directly to the Public Works Department what you guys see as priorities, and then kind of formulate who's going to take on those daily tasks, which I think largely will fall on our Public Works Department.
It's a great
Great,
suggestion.
thank you.
All right, so should we give Public Works, a few weeks and then, or see about setting a meeting towards the end of the month to sit down with that and go through it? Maybe with like 2 people from the commission and Public Works.
I'm hoping the new Public Works Director, well, he's been charged with just taking ownership of that, and so that way, hopefully all those things are getting done, and then when we do our monthly walkthrough, it's gonna be just,
With that. Okay.
yeah.
I do feel like it would be helpful though to have an onboarding for him, just, kind of handing it off to where it's not just like, here's this really long spreadsheet of stuff.
Right.
I feel like maybe we need to make a point to have some of our members there.
Sure.
You've certainly done your fair share of
Right.
park walkthroughs, and give, really be intentional about giving input if there are things missing. I couldn't think of anything that was missing. I thought it was a really great list, but maybe something will come to mind.
And he might see something differently
Yes.
from
Yes.
a public works
Um,
perspective than what we see. He might be like, oh, all
And
these-
that will take months,
Yeah.
right? Like that process for him will take months, but it's not a static list and it can be changed at any time and things can be added or adjusted or taken away even. So, but I do think we need to make a point to have like an onboarding meeting
Yeah.
with the list with him.
Sure.
So,
So maybe
with some of
give
us
him a
and
few weeks, maybe
Amber
the end
and
of the
him.
month,
yeah.
and then that's the way it's like the last week of the month. Then it's right before our next meeting.
I plan to have him join the monthly walkthroughs too.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still, maybe
Or-
just like a, you know, we could come up one day at lunch, just like a sit
Yeah.
down of here's where we've started and here's where we'd like to go, and you know,
Where the whole
and hi, how are you? Know what I mean? Versus if tonight is the public meeting of it, we're sitting down as here are members of the park commission and da 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 da. We're here to
Sure.
help you, but you know. That
Is
kind of
anyone familiar with a tool that could be used in order to keep track of what has been done? And then if there's something that arises, that way we have a communication tool. So if Public Works is out and sees something, then how do we keep track and record of it just to provide some sort of,
Is there like a
we don't wanna
Google
double up
Doc?
effort.
I mean, I
Efforts.
would say use Google Sheets and it can just be updated, right, in real time?
Or Microsoft Teams, we do something similar, and there's proprietary software that the city is looking to. Asonic is one,
Dude Solutions.
Dude Solution, there's Monday.
Just whatever y'all
That-
decide to
Whatever
use,
you
but
want to use.
right,
that when we go on the walkthroughs,
Yes.
all that gets inputted, and then it's also okay. Now this has been done, so
Yes.
there's dates and records, kind of where you can look back at
Checks
it.
and
because it's great to have the sheet and the list to dos, but unless we know who's been doing what and what comes up, it's hard to,
And when it's been
and when it's
done.
been done.
We use a really simple work order form that after we do our monthly walkthroughs, if there's any work orders, we'll just, in anything to do, we'll put it into our work order system and then.
How do any of us see that, or whoever's in charge of that?
We could keep the running sheet and then at the next monthly walkthrough, we could go
Okay.
through it
Okay.
That's a
together.
great,
works.
if you have that tool in place, I think, again, it's just more of a, here's what's been done, here's what we need to address, and here's where we're at.
Yeah,
So what's still open.
Correct.
yep. We can
Yeah,
do
and
that.
if we can take it with us on the walkthrough, then we
Yes.
can also look at the work too, because sometimes, you know, when you go back, you're like, oh, wait a second, that was missed, or they only finished this, or we didn't, we only did this section but not this section, and so. All right, do we wanna move on to number 6? Let's see. All right, discussion and possible action on recommendation to city council regarding the installation of playscape mulch.
You have 2 bids. One is from Cleanscapes, and I'm sorry, I can't read that far away.
There's one from Cleanscapes that is. Yeah,
So the-
10,000.
80 cubic yards
Yeah. The other one's 160.
for 94.72. We won't have to pay sales tax. And then Adventures Outback, they are the group that did the under the swing set, the turf, and they bid 160 cubic yards of mulch
So
for
double.
a total of 11,840. So it's
So they
double.
did double or less.
He did double.
What did we use the last time we did this?
I don't know.
Well, in the second company, they are truly a playground company. Okay, versus Cleanscapes being just simply a landscaping company.
Well, it makes sense if we can get a double for almost the same price. Why wouldn't we do that? And they're specialized in the area.
Is it the same material? The first one is indicating kitty mulch, playground mulch. Is the second one an equivalent material?
Yes, they
Okay.
have to use, in order to be compliant, they have to use the kitty.
Okay. So we're
Material.
looking at
Apples to apples.
Apples to
Yeah.
apples.
Yes.
I would say going with the playground company, just because A, that's their expertise, and B,
Less expensive.
it's less
So this
expensive.
is Aiken Industries, so that's what you're choosing.
Adventures Outback.
Adventures Outback.
Well, and there's a little discrepancy between the two because Cleanscape says 2 inches of mulch thick or all around where
This is
Aiken Adventures Outback is saying 12 inches of mulch alone is needed at the upper or at the lower top area alone. So again, there's a little discrepancy
yeah,
there.
10 inches.
10
Yeah.
inches is a big.
So what I asked for clarification from Cleanscapes is they said basically it was 2 inches spread, but they were going to concentrate on the fall areas.
Okay.
So spread across it's 2 inches, but really on the areas where you're gonna fall, they're gonna be compliant with the 12 inches high. And Adventures Outback is going to do 12 inches high
Across the
I think
board.
we just
across the
that.
board and make everything, the whole entire area compliant.
I think we make the whole entire area
That's what I would.
Compliant.
Do we
Because right
have-
now, we're not in compliance at all.
But do we have the perimeter surrounding the play area that's gonna hold that
Hold it
in?
in?
Yes.
12
Yeah,
inches
because
is
the-
a lot.
We have those jarred kind
Yeah.
of.
Okay,
Stone.
it's tall enough to hold it in? Okay, great.
I'll make a motion to approve outdoor.
What was it called? Adventures?
Outdoor-
Outdoor adventures.
Outdoor adventure.
Adventures Outback.
Adventures Outback. Sorry.
I
Uh,
second.
All in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. When do you think they'll be able to get that work started?
I would say soon.
By the end of the month?
Probably.
Okay.
Do we have a relationship with them that they come out quarterly or semi-annually or annually to
Like how often
A
do we evaluate
consult.
that?
and evaluate our situation?
We have a relationship with Josh McKay, and he advises us on where we're at with our playscape mulch and
And
kind of
who is
some.
Josh McKay? He's
He
a
lives in the
resident?
neighborhood.
He lives in the neighborhood.
All right.
The only
He's
reason
a
why I ask is
contractor.
I'm wondering if they're willing, if they go on a annual or some sort of contractual relationship with us, would they give us a discount? If you go with us, once or twice a year, all of your services moving forward would be a 10% discount.
Right.
Just wondering if there's a relationship we can establish, because we know we're gonna have to replenish these areas frequently, continuously. So,
And how often do we have to do that? Do you think we could get them to give us sort of a maintenance plan? Like, how often does this need to be replaced?
How
guess
long
it
will
would-
this 12 inches last?
Yeah.
It would just depend on how often it's used and how often it's washed out of
Washed
the
out.
playground. And
Yeah.
Well, how
So-
often, like, do we need someone to come out quarterly, or do we need to check it quarterly, or?
I would say we need to check it in our monthly walkthroughs,
Okay.
and then also we can ask Josh to swing by and check it for us and make sure it's. I would maybe say not to get into a contractual relationship just in case they're coming out and charging us when maybe we don't need it.
Don't need it.
Okay.
But we could budget annually to make sure. I mean, right now we're having to do a lot of catch up,
Right.
but maybe we should
Have
try
them
and
come once a year, or maybe
Yeah.
pick a specific month of the year.
yeah, we
And
need to
say,
have
like in January, because I mean, it's cold, people aren't at the park as much, and in the summertime, in the spring, in the fall, people are, so then the usage, and you can go, okay, what was the wear and tear for the
Yeah.
year?
yeah. We could put that on
Maybe
our
85
maintenance plan.
Right. Sounds
January.
good. Our January maintenance
Yeah.
plan, just start the year off right.
That's right.
Okay.
I like it.
All right, moving on, number 7, discussion on the off-leash area. Okay, I guess we sent some stuff to council.
Yeah, we sent our revised
revised-
language for the signs.
Or for, yeah.
hasn't gone yet.
Oh, that hasn't gone to council yet, okay.
February.
Well then, yeah, my only thing is I definitely hope the council will consider, fixing in code, no more than 3 dogs per, adult or
Person.
person. For example, I mean, I was walking with a friend in the park yesterday, and every day the white van shows up, and between 6 and 8 dogs get out. She's actually very good about cleaning up and scooping up, but I mean, it's a lot of wear and tear, and when there are more dogs in addition to the companies that are doing the pet, you really cannot oversee it as well. So But we have become a destination for companies with dog walking businesses because they can let the dogs all freely roam, and they come at various times of day. They are, I think it does appear that some of them are being mindful and trying to come when it's not a
High time for them.
populated time, but it can add, in addition to just regular residents up there, you suddenly have 6 to 8 dogs climbing out of a car. It's a lot. So we can.
Is there a discussion we had on permitting that kind of things?
We have talked about
We've,
that for the
we've
last two
talked
meetings.
about it, but I think our suggestion when you look at other dog parks, all of them limit, 3 to 1. Or we don't have a dog park.
Right,
We don't have a dog park.
we have
Oh, sorry, we have an
off-leash.
off-leash area.
Off-leash policy.
But I think that's probably safe because do you want to get into the enforcement business of, is this company bonded? Is this company paid their permit? It just is easier to kind of go, okay. And then maybe you decide at that point, we still want those companies to permit, and the ones that are doing the 3 will come and do that. But I would say a big start would be to limit the number.
I think that's a really interesting conversation. If a commercial enterprise is operating in that way, every other commercial enterprise, excuse me, that operates in our public spaces.
Has to pay
Yeah.
a permit.
We've
Yeah.
talked about
We
that
did
with
talk
the
about that.
with the exercise groups and things like that.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty lengthy discussion at the last 2 meetings.
And then enforcing it,
Right.
Yeah.
and then having the workforce to be able to go ahead and do the permit application process on a city council.
We're
end.
trying to just relieve that from the city and create rules that
Rules.
make it not a destination and not as attractive for them to be here.
And then
Or
go
to
from
just take the
there.
dogs for a walk around the city and not, for the dogs, walkers that walk dogs, resident dogs. There's plenty of places they can go, they just don't need to be in the off-leash area.
But, sorry for interrupting.
Oh,
No,
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 please.
we've just, the last 2
It's
meetings,
been-
we've kind
it's
of gone
Yeah.
up and down with it, and we feel like that's probably the safest start, where you go, let's limit, and then watch it for 6 months and see how that happens.
To be clear though, where we landed was prohibiting
Prohibiting
commercial
companies.
enterprises
Commercial.
from
Yeah,
Okay.
and we
from
did put
using
that
the
in there.
off-leash area.
Yeah.
If they are on leash, walking around the city
Right.
of Rollingwood,
They can have as many
But we
as they
did
want.
not wanna go the route of
A permit.
a permit for them. We just said no commercial use of the off-leash area is in those
And-
rules that we sent to council.
And limit the dog number 3 to 1.
I think that's a very sound policy.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate you guys catching me up on that
Sure.
conversation.
And then also when you limit 3 to 1, because some of the dog walking businesses are not necessarily a true commercial
just an
business. It's an
individual
individual that's,
contractor.
kind of like your babysitter.
Sure.
And so, by also limiting the number, that hits those groups as well.
And there's probably a number of residents who have somebody make sure
Yeah.
their furry friend gets out for a walk while they're at the office.
I'm sure.
I- I appreciate it, again,
Okay.
the thoughts on it.
All right. Update and discussion on spring. It's my park day.
Well, as far as off-leash area too, we've had a problem with the trash cans inside the fence not being emptied frequently enough, and supposedly there's people that do outside the fence, there's people that do inside the fence area, and all that, so we're back to, can we have can Rollingwood take over the administration of emptying the trash cans both inside and outside?
All
so
at the
that it's
same
not a-
time.
And
on a
I think that
consistent
comes down to
basis.
the baseball lease where people are
Right.
going within there, we're not touching it, outside we are touching it. So
Right.
if we are hopefully in the lease
Using the janitorial
managing it
service.
ourselves, where the janitorial services in the city, then we shouldn't have that problem. It
Right.
should just all be handled versus waiting for somebody else to do it.
That's the direction that we've gone in
With
all
the
the
contract.
services up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Based on the recommendation of the clerk commission.
Okay, just want to make sure that gets, so it's my park day, we've submitted the paperwork. They have their official approvals on the 6th, apparently, And at that point, people can actually, I guess it goes live and people can sign up to volunteer for It's My Park Day. The initial request was for 20 cubic yards of mulch, and then we received an additional request from the Boy Scouts for another 6, so.
And that's for the garden.
Right.
Okay.
And we haven't been able to, you're not able to modify your original request until it's been approved. So therefore, I wrote an email to Kathleen, I believe, and requested, Kathleen Barron, who's Awesome Parks Foundation, and she passed it along to Barry Rivera, who supposedly is going to take care of that. So supposedly, we'll see if it's 26 when we ultimately come up, and then we can modify from there. Trying to schedule for it to be dropped off in the central location, and then I'll work with the person that's in charge of our Public Works to see if they can get a bobcat and backhoe to kind of
Different
put-
areas.
to spread it around to little central areas so that, we're not dragging it all the way across and that type of thing. So, kind of block the 5th through the 7th to be dealing with the administration of It's My Park Day of March, I mean. So, that's where we're at.
All right, number 9, update and discussion on the pet paper program.
The pet papers are close to being ready to order. Ashley and I need to meet, cause there's a couple more pieces of information we need in order to be able to put the order in. I think that still leaves us on track for a late spring installation. We have our spot, near the dog-human fountain, at the entrance to fields 3, 4, and 5, and that is the update.
Sounds good. Any questions? All right, number 10, update and discussion on a donation from the Rollingwood Women's Club. The only update I have on that is that I guess the Women's Club at their meeting did approve the kiosks, minus the trash can. They don't want to put trash cans in the front. They want to either do like a bench or something like that, which I'm totally fine with.
Sure.
So they're working on getting bids and getting that information. And y'all are aware of this, correct? To copy the kiosk down here and replace the little wooden kiosk up there, and have a full whole park, city hall, a map so that everything is located, which would be nice.
If Maureen's creating it, it's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah. So it should be good. So that's in progress, I guess. Let's see. Okay, number 11, the monthly park walkthrough.
Have we had that discussion already inadvertently?
Yeah, basically. Yeah,
Kind of, but I do think we need, some, a Google Doc or something.
For sign up, none of us could open.
I don't want to be like the owner of the Google Sheet or the Google Doc. I feel like you guys need to set it up, and then we can sign up. It could be Sign Up Genius, it could be any format you want, but I think we do want to do that online.
Maybe a calendar invite?
Yeah, because the sign up, the one thing, some of us couldn't open it.
Correct.
Yeah.
On the,
I can resend a calendar invite if you want, but you mean for each person who's gonna attend each month?
You
yeah.
can send it to everyone and then they can say if they're attending.
Because we
When
can
is-
only
Well, it's a
have,
we can
different
only have
person
3
every
members,
month.
right?
It's a sign up, it's
In
not
the
a,
email, you can say like January and have the person assign, and then you can see
Right.
if that person says I can't go, then you'd see there's nobody coming this month because,
right.
or some, a calendar invite could probably do
I
that.
can also send out a similar to like when I send out the meeting and I have a list of everyone attending or not, and just say, someone.
Who can
will
attend
come,
this
and
month?
if,
Who can attend this
more than 3 people say they wanna come, I can send it out and y'all can decide,
Hash it
however,
out.
however y'all want.
And
to
just
do that.
have, how many each month park commission members do we want to make sure come to that too? So, and there's how many of us? There's 7 of us, yeah.
There's 6
of us. So if we just each
It's a
say,
set day.
twice a year.
Do we wanna just divide it up then? Everybody gets,
Yeah, we
you
just
just take,
pick
you're not
months.
every quarter.
Yeah.
You're doing it once a quarter.
Yeah, I think all I'm saying is I would like
Well, like
there
a
to be
sign-up.
access to
For sure.
Yeah.
like
coming
an
in
online
what
sign up that we can refer back to. So we all know we're on the same page and we all know that we're covering all the dates.
Correct.
I think if we do just like a Google Doc with all the dates, and then we can go in and fill in our name on
For
the,
each month.
for the month that we can do, and then we've got that, and then I guess you guys that month send out a calendar and invite, and then a reminder, just hey, we're doing this at this time, or say it's bad weather or something comes up here, and you're like, you know what, we really need to shift it an hour or something. You're only having to contact those members versus everyone.
We will create a Google Doc or something similar.
Okay, sounds great. We
Does
just
it
need
have
tool,
a
any tool.
set date and time of the month, or right
The
now?
last
that's
Tuesday of the month at
Last Tuesday.
10:30?
Yes.
Is that right? Or
Yeah.
9:30?
Has everyone been able to see the calendar invite? Or
No.
should I resend that? I
No.
sent it. No,
Resend
okay.
it. Sometimes I can open that stuff, and sometimes it won't open. So
Correct.
We don't,
Okay, I'll resend it
Thank
and respond if y'all can or can't see it.
Okay.
Catherine, if I could, I want to introduce David Brassage.
Nice to meet you.
Laurie Mills.
Hi, Catherine Horn.
Phil McDuffie.
Colleen Freeheim, nice to meet you.
We're so happy to have him. He
Yes.
comes to us from the city of Bastrop.
Oh, great.
He is a certified building official, certified floodplain manager, master plumber. What else? I mean, his credentials are like this long. Former public works director in Westlake Hills, so he knows the area, and he's already hitting the ground running. He's very handy, so he already has good ideas about what we can do to make the park more beautiful and the space that he's using more beautiful too. So
We're
Thank
excited
you.
to have
Thank you
you.
for coming. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Okay, so our next, you know what, why don't we do skip to the Cleanscapes irrigation report, and then we'll do fundraising, because I think that'll be a longer discussion. Okay, so all right, the irrigation report.
I did not get one. I'm having a rough time getting them to get me an irrigation report. A really rough time.
Okay, they sent me one. See, that's, and I don't know if, okay.
Just tell them the city needs to be copied on everything that they
Yeah.
send out regarding the park.
I have asked them to make me the contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, now they're confused.
But I got it from somebody named Jean, is it Jean? Hold on. Because I just looked through my emails this morning. Hold on.
I think you need to tell them,
I
when you
have.
notice she's not on it.
I have. Let's see. Well. Irrigation. Oh. Now I'm struggling to find this. Okay. Here. If you want to pass this down, because it's got repairs and all of that. Here, pass it over. And I don't know if that was. Let's see. Shelby Earl. Yeah, I don't know why, and I don't know who that is. I just got this from her yesterday.
Do you want to just summarize it for us?
Yeah, hold on, let me pull it back up because I just sent her my document. We have nozzles, rotors, heads, raise, lower some of the heads, lateral lines, a 2-inch valve, PVC material, and I can't tell if this is,
Bless you. What part of the park are we talking about?
I know, that's what I'm looking
Bless
at.
you.
Literally, this just came through my email yesterday.
Like they have it all
Right.
mapped out. Like south of baseball field turf, there's one rotor. South of baseball road, 2 rotors.
Yeah.
So it's
See that.
kind of all over.
Right.
between field house.
So a variety of issues in a variety of places, is that?
And this may have come from the thorough walkthrough that we did.
Okay,
when
from that.
Playscapes came here, yes.
I'm gonna respond to her email and copy y'all and say that it needs to always go to you, cause this was the first time I've ever gotten anything from her, and it just came through yesterday, so I don't know.
Where's their retention pond?
Out here by the upper parking lot, it's below.
Okay. So yeah, so it looks like we have quite a bit to fix.
What was the cost of the bid?
It was,
1,090.
yeah, it's not cheap.
That's-
What did we fix didn't we fix some stuff like 2 months ago?
We did. Let me pull that up.
And so I guess the question is, how does it map out to this? And yeah, I don't know who Shelby is, but I'm gonna.
They didn't do very much. They did one nozzle, 3 rotors,
Okay,
This
and
line
2
goes.
hours. That was $239.
okay.
So I would do a cost per unit on
So this is a lot more.
a lot more.
Why do we think more is
Is it
suddenly
because
broken?
the broken lines
Yeah,
on here?
there's two
There's
broken lines.
Okay, where are those?
One is both sides of entry by police department, and the other one is by the retention pond.
And that may be, isn't that where, remember when
Oh,
we,
we
by
did
the
more-
police department, when we saw the water that was
Bless
broken
you.
back there, when we went through our walkthrough, and I think, somebody had pointed out that behind the police station where the trail is, that there was
Bless
a
you.
line that was just spewing, and
Bless you.
leaking, and so that looks like that's the broken line that they found.
Oh, I may have called that.
Yeah, I knew it was somebody.
And then in September, we spent $1,459.
Yeah, and so.
Do you know what was done then?
It doesn't have like the
Itemized.
yes, but it has like nozzles, drip lines, rotor, small lateral lines.
This stuff. It seems
Well, we
expensive.
can get.
It seems incredibly expensive.
It seems expensive
Yeah.
for
I
this,
mean, I
for
think sprinkler heads and fixing PVC pipe with, you know,
The
the
glue,
glues and
right.
sticking it in and digging holes in the ground shouldn't be anywhere near, you know, this kind of cost, I wouldn't think.
So are they willing to give us the cost breakdown per unit? So for example, with the rotor, we charge you $15 per rotor that we're replacing across the fields.
I think we have that.
Yeah,
You know
I
what,
think we
can
have
put-
this.
Can we copy that just so we can see that?
Sure.
So everybody can see it.
I mean, we have, up on 3, 4, and 5 too, we've got consistently drippy, leaky, there's 3 or 4 heads that are just,
But
Little
that's
mud
within the
puddles.
fields, they're
Right.
not, it
They are.
shouldn't, we shouldn't be getting the within the fields yet,
okay.
because that's,
Yeah, or
You
is there a
guys-
way to project
Well,
it
that's
up
the
there?
one that they just won't respond to me.
Cleanscapes won't respond
There's
to you,
only one
okay.
in the field right now.
Mhm.
according to this.
Yeah, according to this, there's only one that's actually in the field.
I email them constantly about doing a walkthrough because I know 3, 4, 5 have issues and
Yeah.
So that's a question, when we do our when they do the irrigation walkthrough, can they also look at inside the fields, give us that information, and we are the owner of the
Communicator.
information, and either y'all are then paying for your portion, but we're still managing it. I think that's key, so maybe now we need to make clear we want the inside checked as well.
I would think so. I mean, we're back to, I think, just Rollingwood needs to take over the administration part, and then the, you know,
It'll just
part of
be
the lease
efficient.
that gets charged is whatever X amount, but then we take back ownership of making sure that these things get addressed. Because probably, maybe Cleanscapes is confused too, because they're getting multiple, you know. kinda
Right.
like
No, they
this.
are.
Yeah. I mean, we'll, that way if we have one group contacting, if Cleanscapes is, you know, non-responsive, then sooner or later we'll find something.
And using that same communication tool that we talked about for our monthly walkthroughs,
Yeah.
this would be very helpful to say, everybody has access to it from the city side, from the commission side, from the, you know, to be able to say, here's what's been reported, here's when it's been fixed, here's what the budget cost is, and then,
Yep.
Right. And then also on it, the Cleanscapes irrigation department is different from the landscaping department. And so, yeah, so we've got Chris, Frank, and then now Shelby maybe she's the one that emails the irrigation.
And actually now we have Ron and Lee instead of
Aha.
Frank and Greg.
Okay. So yeah, so I think there's two different groups that manage within their group, so, okay. All right, so do we have a copy of?
So she's putting it up on
she
the
put
board.
it up, okay. And I just forwarded y'all that email so that you've got it.
Okay.
What part are we looking at?
We wanted I think you just rolled
Bill.
past it.
The first one?
Yeah, where it has
Yes.
cost per unit. There you go, right there.
Is that plus?
That's it,
Yeah, how do I get rid of this guy?
Try grab and drag.
Sure, yeah, maybe like a,
Just
grab it here,
put the, yeah.
Or if you just X out right there.
this thing,
Yeah.
there's something.
No, the top,
That,
yeah,
This?
there you go.
Yeah.
I don't think that, oh,
Yeah.
alright.
that protect this file with the watermark, that's where I was gonna X in that little box out.
Now it's frozen. Computers. Okay. There we go.
do we use any other irrigation company besides Cleanscapes?
We haven't since I've been here. It honestly, the irrigation was neglected really.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So there's been no investment in the irrigation
right.
so it's not, I mean,
It's not surprising.
personally, I don't think this is that expensive, but
Well, and if that one
looking
line
at the
is
breakdown.
the one behind here, I mean, is that from the trail and from, you know, the police and all that area, so it's been kind of monkeyed with for the last few years, so. Do we have the money in our budget?
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, I guess that's the bigger question, do we have the money in our budget? And if we do, I think we need to fix it, cause as again, it's been neglected for years.
And if we wanna look into a different company, you know, once we get it all kinda fixed and working, that's fine, but I do think we've gotta get it going before it starts getting, I mean, it's only
Agreed.
85 today.
And I mean, we're protecting our assets, right? Our landscaping, our vegetation, and we just can't let it fall into disrepair.
I would say, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right, moving on. Discussion on fundraising. I guess at our last meeting, we talked about the Randall's card and the Amazon card points. We have to have a 501c3. Austin Community Foundation is getting back to me with the information on the fund. And so my last communication from them was they were looking into, you know, how we could reopen our park fund and the costs and stuff. Haven't gotten it, so hopefully we'll have it for the next meeting. And then beyond that, it's what type of basic fundraising campaign do we want to have that is once a year but open all year long for people to donate.
I think at one point we had discussed what is the M&O cost to run the park? And if we understand that number, then how do we look at that from a per household? And not saying that we can go back to our homeowners and say, we'd like for you to contribute $100 per year to help fund the maintenance and operations, but at least if we have some numbers to know where we stand and what we're trying to raise,
Right.
then we can put together discussion about opportunities to do it, the way you can support it, and if it's $10 a month, or
Yeah.
you know, something where again we start to communicate where we stand, how we got here, and what we can do about it, and why we don't have our tax money to go cover this, and why it's no longer
It's
part
an
of.
education campaign.
Yes, and I think when we bring that information to our residents, then it makes sense. Some people will be like, no way, I pay my tax dollars, can't help you. We get that, but there are some people, like, we have 4 kids, you bet. Our kids love to go to the park, but they're like, there's no grass, you know, and so I think you're gonna hit on some folks, but maybe not everybody, but at least it's a start to educate the facts of where we're at and where we can go.
So today, your M&O budget is 100,000, but I would say it's severely underfunded.
Okay.
I mean, I would at least double that if you wanted to.
To 200,000.
Yeah, I think this is just mowing the grass. Basically, is all we're doing. We're not actively trimming the trees. We're not planting flowers. We're not, you know, doing all the things that maybe you want to do. Another possible fundraising is, you know, the playscape mulch. You have a number on that, 11,000. You could make that your fundraising campaign and go get that. You know, as projects come up.
I think the goal would be not to be raising really for specific projects, but to just have a specific goal of we need $20,000 extra through fundraising a year, or whatever that number may be. And then when you do have like a capital campaign for, say, we did a new playground or something like that, I know that Nudge Design has given us that 66 cents per square foot number. I think that's a Rolls Royce style number, and I think you have to really be careful with that number, because suddenly saying to residents, we need to double our park budget. Yes, it's been underfunded, but hey, we need to double our park budget, and oh, by the way, we need a new city hall, we need this, this, and this. I think you're gonna have some pushback, and I think we have to be mindful of that and say, how do we make our park green? How do we make it pretty? And how do we make it affordable and not over
So
the top?
to that point, that's what you pay for with your tax dollars. But if you're dreaming and visioning and making when you fundraise, you want to fundraise for the Rolls Royce, right? You don't want to fundraise just for basic mowing the grass. I would say, when I'm giving, I don't want to just give for mowing the grass. I want to give for something really cool.
Well, I agree with that, except for the fact that we have to get our park back into good condition, just basic condition, and see what we can afford. And with all the different competing interests, you know, our tax dollars, the majority of residents really feel like our tax dollars should cover our maintenance of our park, and that the fundraising is for the extras and the beautification. And so figuring out the difference between those two. And I think we are just right now trying to get our park in good condition. And it's like a 3-step process. Like, how do we get us back into working order when we didn't have sprinklers running for so long, and we have no grass, we have weeds, we have drainage, how do we do that? But not overwhelm people, because we can run out and start raising money, but after a while, people people get tired, and so maybe we have to come up with, you know, people that want to sponsor a bed, a flower bed, or, you know, when we did the walkthrough and we noticed some benches that are in very poor shape and we need 3 new benches, you know, we've got benches people can buy or donate, you know, come up with that kind of stuff. But I would be very hesitant, and I would not feel confident putting my name on it to the residents of Rollingwood saying, oh, we need to double our park maintenance budget.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying
Okay.
I'm not saying that should be your fundraising idea. You asked me to come up
Yeah.
with a number that I think that it costs to operate and maintain the park. That's the number I think.
But is that based on true bids? Like kind of like the city just got the bid for.
Well, it's all a give and take, right? I mean, you can have the Rolls Royce or you can have the Ford Fusion. It's just what the community wants, right?
No, I know that, but like, I'm looking at, like, I want a true bid versus, you know, it's 60 cents a square foot. Like, kind of like they just got the bid for, you know, a new city hall and stuff, and it's based on an idea, not an actual plan. And I'd rather sit down and say, we need mowing, we need irrigation, we need this, we need that. What are the things that we need? And let's get true, real bids with real numbers versus,
Right, like Playscape.
yeah,
correct.
like
We've
what
got
is
that.
it gonna cost for our playscape to be taken care of adequately, replaced over time, that sort of thing, annually, you know, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plans. Like, what does that cost for every aspect of the park so that we can come up with the better number versus, I mean, you're gonna have people that see that one number or think, oh my gosh.
Well, and it's a component. Go ahead, Mike.
So, sorry, just to give a little context on where the 66 cents per square foot comes from. It wasn't arbitrary. Basically, the feedback that Nudge and Brian got from us as a community as we went through the master planning, all the feedback from the community said, this is what we expect our park to be at the end of the day. Nudge took that information, cross-referenced it with, I don't even know how many data points, right? So any number of other park systems around the region, around the state, around the nation, right? And came back and said, if this is what you guys are saying you want, it's gonna cost you 66 cents per square foot. Now, you could run that same scenario through another group. It's gonna cost you to do it because it's what consultants get paid to do.
I'm not suggesting.
No, and again, I'm just, and I'm not saying we should or shouldn't. I'm just saying if you want another number, if you want to verify that 66 cents per square foot is the right number for everything that we as a community came together and said this is what we expect and what we want, then we can certainly go and do that. It's a process, but the 66 cents a square foot isn't arbitrary, I guess is my first point. And the second point is, you can always scale back. The conversation with Brian can be, you know what, as a community, we're not gonna pay 66 cents a square foot. What can we reasonably expect for 40 cents a square foot? Or fill in the blank with whatever number that we on the city side, as a community, have said, this is a number that we're comfortable with for our park.
Right.
What does that mean? And then the conversation for the community is simply, got it. This is what we're going to get for what we're willing to pay for.
And if possible, I think it's helpful, as Catherine was mentioning, for our playscapes, we need an annual budget of, hypothetical, $12,000 for mowing and irrigation, breaking it down so that folks don't take this 40 cents, 66 cents and say, well, what do I get? And then, hey, I'm really vested in that playscape area because my kids use it, so I want to help fund that. Or I'm really vested in the off-leash area because I'm there with our pets. And I think it helps, again, it's just this education tool of what does it cost? What are those real numbers from that perspective to say on an annual basis, this is what we need. And guys, we need our help. We love our community. If this park continues to do what it does, and oh, well, then people complain about the off-leash and the amount of commercial people coming through. Well, look at what the city's done. Look what the commission's done to respond to that. You know, it's this now we're forming that relationship of we're sharing logical, factual information. Then people get to make that decision based on what works for them or what doesn't. But then at least we're taking that step in the right direction to say.
And we're doing it from a data standpoint.
Yes, not because we have these great consultants that, based on the Rollingwood feedback, you bet, I want the Rolls Royce. I drive
Yeah.
a 13-year-old Navigator.
This is now we can say
Yeah.
this is what the
What
Rolls
we
Royce
want and what
costs.
we
And
are
I-
We
willing.
really want it for this price.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
the thing
Yes.
is, you know, when you're saying what you want, yes, we have the I want disease in my house.
Sure.
Full effect.
Yes.
Every member of my home has the I want disease. And we want a lot of really nice stuff. But
Right.
it
The
doesn't the
reality.
reality of it
Yes.
and sometimes I think when consultants are using that information, there's not a distinction being made between here's what your property tax dollars that we collect can actually provide. And so I think that also comes down to the council doing a re-education campaign through the city of, look, I mean, I paid my tax bill. $3,000 of my $29,000 tax bill come to the city of Rollingwood. That's it. And so that $3,000 is broken down between all these
And
different
that's
things.
the numbers we need.
And so I think it's a two-pronged approach because some people are not going to be willing to add, you know, they're like, well, everybody should be funding our park. All taxpayers should be funding the majority.
I would argue that all people using our park, and that's one big part of our problem,
Right.
which is 20% of the folks that use our park are actually paying tax dollars. 20% support 100% of the usage of our park.
Right.
We have really good data on that, and that's a conversation. So when we start talking, I heard mentioned earlier, we're not going to be a destination. Or the truth of the matter is,
We
that's
are a
exactly what we
destination.
are.
Right.
And there's no getting around it. We're a community park, and a community doesn't mean within the city limits, right?
Right.
It means a much larger swath of the community, which we can always have a debate as whether that's a good or bad thing. But the reality of the situation is that
It
is
is.
the situation.
Right.
Correct.
No, we get that.
The idea of figuring out how to capture some level of value from the other 80% who are really just enjoying, what the 20% are paying for, and it's that's a very difficult. It's a difficult thing to answer. Is the short. And when we start talking in terms of kind of conflicting land use and wants and desires here in the park, I'm glad we have the tip of the spear here to sort of wrap it.
I think if we can get a better handle on our numbers of our breakdowns of each section of our park and what it's costing, and then looking at our budget and where the difference is. Here's what we've budgeted in the past. We haven't changed it much, and we really need to up it by X amount.
Right.
City council's, committed to helping us with this. We need to fund, the difference. And here are some simple ways to do it. But, you look, the Police Benevolent Society raised what, like 17, 19?
I think they would.
I think
they
they
did a little bit. I think they did a little bit more this time around. It wasn't as successful as the first.
Right.
The
So, I mean,
first
you-
inaugural year at
You
32.
have to look at, as much as we want the exterior community donating, and I think there will be a fair amount, but you really have to look at what's within our walls
You bet.
and
but
the
if you
capabilities.
think in terms of kind of a community and a regional event once a year, which is really what kind of the park or the Benevolent Foundation did, right? I think as word spreads, I actually think you'll grab people from a larger swath of a regional community that attend that event and are willing to put kind of some coins in the kitty there. If the park commission, I've heard conversations around a farmer's market, right? A fall farmer's market, perhaps.
Like the park commission, we plan and host.
So, or as a community, if it's
Oh.
planned and hosted,
I-
right? And
I
like,
love all these ideas,
these are-
but we
these are-
can't get volunteers to fill our, my concern is we cannot get volunteers to even fill our boards and commissions.
So,
And so,
I think there's
every-
a slight difference in perspective there, right? Because if you think about how the Benevolent Foundation came together, right? There's a lot of people that throw in a lot of volunteer hours, volunteer services, all kinds of things to make that event happen. If you think about how the Rollingwood Women's Club, obviously over the course of decades, it's kind of ebbed and flowed with how much participation they can get for the July 4th parade, right, and the party, the extravaganza, the 5K. They're able to get that together. It is a task,
Well,
and there's a lot of work
the
that goes.
general swing right now, though, across the board, when you talk to the women's club and all the different volunteer organizations, as that participation and volunteer manpower is going down.
Sure.
And so everyone across all different types of organizations are having to say, how can we have less but get more? Like, what are the opportunities? Because it is hard to find volunteers. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to chair it or be responsible for it. And so you just have to, I mean, I don't know. I think something simple starting out that we can build on, and that we can have like a friends campaign that goes towards, and then we can grow it. But
I think we have to build the trust within the community.
And we have to
And right
educate.
now, without educating our community, I think there's a disconnect of trust of what is actually happening.
There's a lot of, as we've seen over the past year, people who are cynical about what is happening. And so I think we have to start with the data, we have to start with the education, and then maybe they'll come from a different place.
Yeah.
So from, I
But to
think from
just
city
ask for
council,
money
if we
is
could,
not gonna get
No,
us.
and I agree.
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly with
And then
exactly what
trying
it
to
is.
put on even more events. I mean,
Most
we're trying.
public organizations are
Uh-huh.
jumping into a public-private partnership. That is a very common trend. It
Sure.
has been for years,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
well, and there's ways we could build that. We,
Yeah.
you know, we
With
can
our
do it on the,
local
if we get website and we say, you can sponsor, your business can be sponsored on our website for $1,000, whatever we want, you know, we could build sponsorship levels that go beyond, that could give them
Individual contributions.
correct, so that we can give them corporate sponsorships and we can get them with whatever the city feels that's appropriate. So there's definitely ways that we can do that. I think the first part of it, in my opinion, is truly getting that number. So if it's $3,000, what is the number of tax dollars that actually goes to the city from all of our residents here? I think that's a big number to know. Of that number, what gets distributed to the parks for maintenance and operations?
What percentage of those dollars?
And
yeah.
then realistically, what are our 3 or 4 big buckets that as the Parks Commission and the City Council feel are real needs that we
gaps,
have
where are the
to?
gaps?
What does that look like and how much does it cost to fund that?
so I can answer some of that
Great,
in short order.
good.
As a city, within our city limits, we have we have $1.063 billion worth of appraised value. Our city's annual budget this last year was $6.7 million.
That was the city budget.
That's the city's budget. We had free cash at the end of that year of $300,000. We underfund our police department, which is our single biggest expenditure. Our police department is underfunded to the degree where literally our police officers are approached by every other surrounding jurisdiction as soon as we train them up.
So why aren't we using that extra 300 towards our police?
It's exactly what we're doing.
To retain
And
them.
this is so
Because
exactly.
I love our park, but our park
Exactly
can be
what-
Right.
basic. I'd rather have police.
Yeah.
So the biggest conversation that I am trying, and our city council and our city staff are trying to get our citizens to understand, is that we are not bringing in enough revenue to be competitive and to provide the services that we as a community are coming forward and saying we want. So
Yeah.
you've got 2 options. You bring in more revenue, which is raising taxes or figuring out how to get more sales tax, figuring out how to adjust those revenue streams, or you reduce your expectations on your wants.
Right.
Right? Probably we should have some level
Balance.
of
Balance,
both,
right.
But we have an issue, a difficult time grabbing the talent that we expect. We've done a great job of getting that here now. Our next challenge as a community is retaining the amazing folks that we have here. We still have some folks and some spots to fill, but that's, at some point, these guys are gonna realize what they're worth, and other communities are gonna realize what they're worth and try to coach them.
And it is, it's
You bet. And then when we start talking in terms of, God, we do need, if we're expecting our park to function at this level, right? That's gonna cost X dollars above what we're spending right now. Where are those dollars going to come from? And I think as a community, we've all come together and said, we love this to be, both the figurative and literal heart of our city. And it should represent, I get your eye roll, so the camera. I get you, but that's really what the community's going for, right? And we as a community, if that's what we expect for this, and we have that high standard, got it. What does that high standard cost us? And do we really want it? And my answer is, yeah, I think we can have literally all of this if we're willing to sit down and have an intelligent conversation about it, and understand what our options are, and be thoughtful about how we put this together. If we start approaching all of these things right at the gate where they can't do it, you're right, we can't.
We're not saying we can't do it. What we're saying is we've been doing a lot of our own research and trying to figure out what people's bandwidths are, and we're trying to come up with the best way to get this back and running. So we've come in, this is an entirely new park commission. We've had to fix issues from the past, and we are still, like kind of the irrigation, we are still working on that. So for us to even understand what the full budget should be, it's gonna take us a while. And the city has to do the education on the other stuff. We can do the basics over here, but we can't solve those issues. All we are trying to solve are the issues here. And so we can say, this, let's have an event in the park. When we tell you that we don't have the manpower to do it, they're not doing the Rollingwood 5K this year because
but that's today.
They couldn't
and I
find
agree with you, Michael,
volunteers.
that
Yeah, I
look,
think
today we
we'll
might not
get it.
have that
But we're
participation
just,
we need.
We're trying to get this other stuff going, and then it gets lapped onto us, and that's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to the park and to figuring out how to effectively manage it, how the city can handle it, because we haven't taken ownership of it until really now. We have new public works, we have cleanscapes, so you've got to give us some time on that. And yeah, $200,000 for our park budget sounds great. I'd love it. But, when you sit there and say our police are underfunded and they're poached, I think, that those are questions that the city council has to answer, but we have to put forward, how do we do this the best way possible and the most cost-effective way possible? And we're doing that. We're having It's My Park Day twice. We're getting free mulch. We are working to cut down costs and to make sure that that's happening. But you're gonna have to allow us to do that. But if you might get an eye roll here or there when it's let's have an event or let's have this, and we're like, hold on, because we've been investigating that, and what we hear on the street is, oh, I might attend, or oh, I don't want to do that. So we're looking at, what are some of the easiest ways for us to get free money, free, items such as mulch, and then build, because yes, we have to build the trust. I mean, people are angry about the off-leash area, so you have to allow that. They're angry about the Little League lease. So we have all these other facets, and we are simply working a few times a month. So
What
you
if we
have to give us time.
What if we,
I mean,
between now and do we end in May?
we end in May, yeah.
So between now and when we end in May, what if we gave you, just like we asked the Cleanscapes, give us what that plan looks like
Right.
to help prevent the erosion and the plants? What if we were able to put together, hey, here's what we're planning to do over the next 1, 3, 5 year, right? At least have a start. We might not have it all buttoned up, but a skeleton of what, again, we can't change it overnight.
Right.
The movement of what I think this park commission has done, and I'm the least involved, I'm getting better, has been able to do is to say, look, we are owning this, and we do want to understand what's happened in the past, where are we at, and where can we go. but give us a little bit of time, let's put together, so that way we can start with the education piece. I think that's integral, right?
I agree, just to underscore, I'm not suggesting that these things should happen tomorrow. Progress starts now, and you guys are already well down that path, right? You do have a master plan that suggests over the course of whatever years, this is what this could do. So you have a foundation from which you can start. You've got the maintenance schedule that you quite
That's the woman next to you,
right, but
actually.
you quite rightly pointed out, like, you've got to take that.
You
That's
can have it, but if you're not
using it,
Right.
and that's what had happened in the past.
That's the next key to answering
A lot of
answering
this.
your very correct question. What does this cost us?
Right.
How do we know what this is going to cost us tomorrow, next year, 3 years down the road? And now you can start your forecasting from that, and then we can decide as a community again. Okay, if we really want this, we've got to figure out how to fund this, and then you guys can go, guys, as a community, as a park commission, this is what we really want.
Bless
Hey,
you.
city council and other groups here, figure out how to get this done. And then if the answer comes back from city council, we don't know, we can't, then
Bless you.
that's right. Again, like, I'm not suggesting, please don't take anything I've said as, this is all on you. It's absolutely not. You guys you are part of the solution, part of the solution.
Right.
There's any number of other boards and commissions, there's the city council, there's me, there's our city staff, right? Together, we come together to do this stuff. And this isn't all on anybody.
Right, no, we're working on it, we've made, I mean, our park walkthroughs, we're figuring it out, working on the stuff with the lease, trying to streamline and just, whereas I think in the past, the park commission was just, well, what's the event? Reactionary versus being proactive. So I think we're on the right track, you just are gonna have to give us some time.
I would agree, and I think
So-
anybody that's actually involved in doing this understands that what's going on right now is progress. We are being successful, moving things forward, and that's absolutely down to the work that the park commission is doing. So thank you very much for that. I don't say that.
No,
That's
and
not-
again, I
It's
think
not.
these things can be done, just like everything, we just have to understand where we're at, and then what is our important messaging, and how do we communicate that to the residents?
Yeah.
So that we're all informed, and that when things pop up, it's, well, no, I understood that, and it came out, anyways.
So do we want to take on the mandate of figuring out what the baseline cost is, and we're asking them to give us the revenue piece?
Well, that's a great question, right? Because I think until we know what we collect in and where it goes out to parks and what our parks operating budget is, we really can't.
What's
put-
$100,000?
It's $100,000.
And then,
Yeah.
and then with the new lease, it'll be 42,000 additional
142,000 is your budget.
with,
What
to
are we
operate the
getting
fields.
as far as sales tax dollars from online sales? Do we have a feeling for that?
We're getting, so we have, as a community, been successful in raising our sales tax for the last 2 years by about 6%. So, it's a step in the right direction. Only about 20% of our city's revenue comes from sales taxes.
Okay.
That's 80% coming from our property and ad valorem taxes. Just to put that in perspective for you, how out of whack that is with neighboring communities, the city of Westlake Hills derives 70% of its annual budget from sales taxes. So it's a situation where we as a community, and this is not on the park commission per se, right? But the way as a community have got to kind of have a come to Jesus talk and say, do we need to start balancing that out more in favor of sales tax? And if that answer is yes, I personally believe it absolutely has to be, otherwise you're pricing everybody out of this community, right? You've got to figure out a way to invest in your commercial district to encourage the right
Well,
businesses.
are we getting money from the online sales, the sales tax? Online sales, do we know how
And
much that is?
That's something that you could actually bring up with the state legislature, right? So there are conversations at the state ledge.
This is something that we have somebody in our city who's very connected with,
Gavin.
the state legislature, and there is a new law in effect, or that may be going in effect, where if somebody, say in our city, makes a purchase
It goes from point of sale on the purchase side rather than
Right,
point
it
of sale
here,
on.
because we bought it where it's delivered to, instead of where the manufacturing facility is. or
Right.
where
Or
the
You guys are gonna make a
distribution
lot of
center
money
is.
off my Amazon purchases.
That's what I'm saying.
Mine too.
This
Yeah.
neighborhood has got to be,
Yeah.
I mean, I know the majority of my big ticket items are
To
online.
answer your question, right, what's actually happening, the way functionally it works right now, this is why a neighboring community might give a massive, incentivization package to say an Amazon distribution center. Because when that Amazon distribution center is located in their community, they get their sales tax dollars. That transaction may transpire because somebody in our community bought it, but they get the money, right? So that's something that's being addressed at the state. We as a city, we can help have a voice, and we can maybe lobby for that as a small community. Small communities are the ones that are impacted adversely by that kind of thing. But that's a state legislature question.
So what I'm hearing right now, my sales tax dollars from online sales are not necessarily aren't going to Rolling
Almost
Woods.
certainly,
They're not.
almost certainly not.
Okay.
It depends, is the short answer.
And there's no way to rectify that, because I think that, on our sales tax end, that's the end solution, because I think that, my big ticket items are typically online
So
now. So if we can
But
get those
big
Right,
ticket
yeah.
items, as far as a community goes,
Yeah.
the revenue drivers for a community tend to be food and beverage. Food and beverage, and that's sales tax attached to all of that, right? So food and beverage are generally considered number one. Number two ends up being retail. And it's just a situation that if you can figure out how to bring more revenues in, then you can start talking in terms of improving the allocation of those revenues, including to the park.
Right.
Just to bring it back around, we've gone down rabbit trails.
Right, we've gone down some rabbit trails, so I thought maybe we can
Summarize it.
summarize it. And
So going back to what are we asking them for, and what are we committing to providing to sort of piece together a bigger picture?
I think we should look at what we're spending, what we've been spending since September, and how we're coming up with our own numbers and what's actual, and then
shift.
figuring out what we're spending now and seeing what that looks like a year from now, and that way we have some real numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
we're
then we
looking
need-
for baseline spending.
Yeah, and like true dollars, like how we just did the mulch, I don't think they had dealt with mulch for a long time, and they just put it in the budget for this year. And so, some of this is so much catch-up.
Well,
I
we've
know, are we gonna
invested
try
a
to
lot in
normalize
irrigation
that,
because
though?
it had
And so,
been.
and so the goal is
neglected.
to go, okay, what's it gonna cost us? And some of that
maintain
is saying to the
rather
playground
than
mulch guy,
Catch up.
okay, 1, 3, 5 years, what is it that we are doing
So
here
which of us wants to work on that?
on playground?
No,
Or-
work on crunching those numbers.
You do not want me crunching any
I
numbers, I'll just be very
I have
honest
an
about
MBA.
that.
It's, I can
I'm
probably
happy
have
to
a
partner
finance
with
MBA.
somebody, I just
I can
don't have
crunch
enough
numbers.
history of everything that's been put out, so if I have access, I'm happy to partner with somebody if we want to does the city have sort of expenses broken down for every, okay,
Yeah,
and we have access to that,
yes.
okay,
So Nicole, do you want to work on it together?
I'd love to.
Okay, and then we're asking the city for a pretty good view of the revenue piece of it.
We absolutely have that, and I
Okay.
would even recommend that if you can carve out actual physical time to come into City Hall and to sit down with Amber and Abel.
Sure.
We can walk you through,
Great.
what monies were designated for park use and how those monies were spent. The big aspect of that O&M schedule, that maintenance schedule that you guys are talking about is now you guys are gonna, hopefully with Public Works, form a document so that we can have greater insight as to this many dollars didn't just come into the park, this many dollars came into the park and got allocated to irrigation or to whatever, fill in the blank. So that's, we don't have that level of detail, and that was the beauty of what Wendy started, is a tool that now we can have that detail if we execute on it.
Great.
And we can take all that and make something meaningful. I think you're gonna make something really meaningful out of it. I can crunch the numbers, but you'll make the message.
We'll definitely, we'll collaborate on making the messaging.
Yes, I think
Obviously,
you're
the
good at
city-
that.
We've only got three
With
more
city's
meetings
approval.
before we break.
Yeah, and our numbers, the thing is, because in the past, like, our numbers are shifting this year, and it's gonna be a kind of a continual shift this year as we get the park managed better, is
Well, I think
what
we
I
can
see.
normalize some of that though,
Right,
right?
yeah.
I think we can say like, clearly, we're not gonna have to put in 12 inches of mulch every
Every
year,
year,
right?
right.
And
So we
clearly,
can-
hopefully our irrigation won't need as much at the,
Yep,
And maybe
Well-
we have like 2 other irrigation companies come
I do
and
think
look
we
at
need
our,
to
look at our
get other
system
bids.
in addition to Cleanscapes, even though they're doing our job, but maybe
are they the
we
most cost
have
effective?
some other options looked at. I mean,
Yeah.
so, I mean, and I'm fine
And
with
maybe we need to
that.
go with a smaller company that can,
That only does irrigation, doesn't
yeah,
do
that's what I'm
anything
saying,
else.
is one company that specializes.
And it may still be Cleanscapes, but.
Well, is it possible for public, I mean, when you're
Public
talking
Works.
about little heads, obviously a company doesn't wanna come in and fix one head when the head gets broken, but if
Right.
you have a broken head,
Could public
needs to be
works-
addressed.
They do.
how
They
much
do
is
that
it?
today.
Yeah,
They
So, like,
already.
when we're
And
looking
now
at
that
our
we have
irrigation
someone who has
report,
that experience and is able.
and we're going, okay, 2 rotors, 2 heads, we can fix those versus
A broken pipe with a
Sure.
PVC
Yeah.
to dig it out.
maybe have them fix those types of things, and then
Scale
some of
what
the
we send out.
basics
Right.
we can handle, so. Yeah. All right, let's adjourn our meeting, 11:15. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
yes, well, if you wanna try to schedule that with them right now, I would love to. You've got it here?
Yes.
Okay.
When I go out the door, I'm done for the day.
What works for y'all?
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Love the idea.
Yeah, because we can look at that, we can look at who's going, and then, okay, and if you for some reason can't do your month, yeah. So in case like somebody gets sick, or, hey, there's a child at the clock.
Thank you.
Yes, and a lot of times my schedule is at the mercy of clients and things like that. So I always don't always have the luxury of following through, so having an alternate is great for me.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
Sometimes Friday's not so
Okay,
good.
Monday through Thursday.
Yeah.
Do is not just.
Monday or Tuesday?